The massive research vessel drifted silently through the unexplored sector of the Andromeda Rim. June Park stood at the primary observation deck, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays that flickered with endless streams of astronomical data. Outside the reinforced windows, nothing but endless darkness and scattered pinpoints of starlight stretched in every direction. Something caught his attention. A subtle distortion in the spectral readings, something most researchers would have missed entirely. June tapped the display, zooming in on a cluster of signals that seemed to pulse with an unusual rhythm. "Dr. Kim," he called quietly, "you might want to see this." Yuna approached, her steps careful and measured. She was not the type to get excited easily. Years of astronomical research had taught her to be cautious, to look beyond the initial excitement of potential discoveries. The sensors began to resolve an image. At first it looked like cosmic debris, a collection of irregular shapes floating in the vast emptiness. But as the resolution increased, the shapes became more defined, geometric, structured. Something was definitely out there. "Those aren't natural formations," Yuna whispered. The ship's advanced scanning systems began to map the object. Its size was extraordinary, kilometers long with intricate surface patterns that seemed to shimmer and change even as they watched. No known civilization had ever constructed something of this magnitude. June's hands moved quickly across the control panel. He initiated deep spectrum analysis, radiation scans, and quantum signature mapping. Each scan returned more puzzling results. The object, or objects as they were now discovering, were not just large. They were incredibly complex. "How long do you think they've been here?" June asked, more to himself than to Yuna. The fleet of spacecraft seemed frozen in time, not destroyed, not damaged, but perfectly preserved. Like a museum exhibit suspended in the infinite darkness of space. Their surfaces reflected minimal radiation, suggesting advanced shielding technology far beyond current understanding. The research team worked frantically. More crew members were called to the observation deck. Excitement mixed with professional caution as they realized they might be on the brink of the most significant astronomical discovery in decades. "Run a comparative analysis," Yuna instructed a junior researcher. "Cross-reference these signatures with every known galactic civilization database." Hours passed. The initial excitement began to transform into something more nuanced. These weren't just random spacecraft. They were a fleet. A perfectly preserved, impossibly advanced fleet that seemed to be waiting for something. June noticed something strange. Beneath the complex surface patterns there were subtle indicators, almost like markers or signatures. They weren't random. They were deliberate. Designed. "These aren't alien," he said suddenly, causing everyone to stop and look at him. "These are human." The room went silent. Humans had been considered a relatively young species in galactic terms. Their space exploration was minimal, their technology primitive compared to many advanced civilizations. How could they have constructed something like this? One of the scanning technicians pulled up a detailed holographic model. The spacecraft's design was elegant, not just functional, but beautiful. Each line, each curve seemed to serve multiple purposes: defense, propulsion, data transmission, energy management. As the initial scans completed, something unexpected happened. A faint energy signature began to pulse, barely perceptible at first, then growing stronger. Something inside the ancient fleet was responding to their presence. June and Yuna exchanged a look. This was no longer just a scientific discovery. This was the beginning of something much larger. Something that would challenge everything they understood about human history, technological capability, and survival. The fleet waited, silent, patient, holding secrets that were about to be unleashed. The research laboratory buzzed with nervous energy. Screens filled with complex data streams, each displaying fragments of information from the mysterious spacecraft fleet. June sat hunched over a central console, his fingers moving rapidly across holographic interfaces. "Something doesn't make sense," he muttered. The quantum encryption systems were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Traditional decryption methods failed repeatedly. Each attempt seemed to trigger additional layers of protective coding that would reset or scramble existing data. Yuna brought fresh coffee, watching as complex mathematical algorithms danced across the screens. The fleet's computational systems were adaptive. They were literally learning and changing with each scanning attempt. A junior researcher named Park carefully extracted a microscopic data crystal found during the initial scans. Under high resolution, imaging the crystal revealed intricate nanostructures that seemed to pulse with a strange internal energy. Suddenly, a breakthrough. One of the data fragments resolved into a historical record. Fragmented, incomplete, but definitely human in origin. The images showed massive construction facilities not on planetary surfaces but in deep space, massive shipyards that defied current technological understanding. The record suggested these ships were built during a period of extreme human crisis. Not a war, not an invasion. Something more fundamental. A threat to human existence itself. June zoomed into a particular section. Genetic preservation systems, technological backup protocols, a comprehensive plan for human survival that went far beyond simple military strategy. They weren't just building ships, Yuna realized. They were creating a civilization's insurance policy. Each decrypted fragment revealed more complexity. The ships weren't just military vessels. They were mobile genetic archives, technological time capsules designed to preserve human knowledge, culture, and potential for regeneration. The encryption was brilliant. Multiple layers of quantum-locked information that would only unlock under specific conditions. Conditions that seemed tied to some kind of existential threat assessment. Park noticed something unusual. Certain data fragments seemed to respond differently when specific combinations of scanning frequencies were used. It was almost as if the system was testing them, evaluating their technological capability. Hours turned into days. The research team worked in shifts, each bringing fresh perspectives to the mysterious fleet. They were no longer just scientists. They had become explorers of a hidden human legacy. One particular data sequence began to stabilize. It showed glimpses of massive space construction projects, automated systems building not just ships, but entire technological ecosystems, self-replicating infrastructure that could rebuild human civilization from essentially nothing. "This changes everything," June whispered. The fleet wasn't just a collection of spacecraft, it was a complete survival mechanism, designed to wait, to preserve, to potentially restart human civilization if some catastrophic event occurred. Yuna noticed the ships were subtly responding to their research. Energy signatures would pulse slightly. Protective systems would recalibrate. They weren't just machines. They seemed almost alive. As night fell in the research station, the mysterious fleet continued its silent vigil, waiting, watching, holding secrets that would soon reshape humanity's understanding of its own potential and resilience. The discovery was just beginning. Something was definitely going to happen. Something was changing. Subtle at first, a low hum that nobody could quite identify. The massive screens flickered, not with random interference but with purposeful patterns. June noticed it first. The quantum matrices were realigning. Not randomly, but with calculated precision. Each system seemed to be communicating, connecting, preparing for something. "Everyone stay calm," Yuna instructed, though her own voice trembled slightly. The ships outside began to move. Not violently, not aggressively, but with a smoothness that suggested incredible technological sophistication. Massive structures that had been dormant for centuries were now shifting, rotating, adjusting their positions. Defensive protocols started activating. Energy shields that shimmered like liquid metal began forming around the spacecraft. Complex computational systems came online, running diagnostic sequences that seemed to span centuries of accumulated data. Park watched in amazement as entire sections of the fleet began to reconfigure. Weapon systems that looked more like intricate sculptures than traditional armaments emerged from hidden compartments. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost organic. "These aren't just machines," June whispered. "These are living systems." The research team's monitoring equipment struggled to process the incoming data. Each second revealed another layer of complexity. The fleet wasn't just waking up, It was evaluating its environment, running threat assessments, preparing potential response strategies. A holographic interface suddenly materialized in the center of the laboratory. No one had activated it. It simply appeared. Complex geometric patterns formed, then transformed into what looked like historical data streams. Glimpses of human history flickered through the projection. Moments of crisis, technological breakthroughs, survival scenarios. The fleet seemed to be reviewing its original purpose, its fundamental programming. Una realized they were being assessed. The ships were studying the research team just as intently as the team was studying them. Every scan, every interaction, was being processed and analyzed. Automated repair systems began working across the fleet's surface. Microscopic robotic units moved like schools of metallic fish, fixing minor structural imperfections that had accumulated over centuries. The entire system was self-maintaining, self-healing. They built something impossible, Park muttered, watching the incredible display. The quantum encryption systems that had previously resisted all decryption attempts now began releasing controlled information bursts. Historical records, technological schematics, survival protocols that suggested humanity had prepared for scenarios far beyond simple planetary defense. Emergency communication networks powered up. Backup systems that had been dormant for generations now hummed with potential energy. The fleet wasn't just awake. It was preparing. June noticed something strange. The ships were adapting to the current technological environment, scanning, learning, adjusting their systems to match current galactic standards while maintaining their core programming. A massive energy signature began building, not threatening, but powerful, like a sleeping giant slowly stretching after a long rest. The research team watched, transfixed. They were witnessing something unprecedented, a technological marvel that challenged everything they understood about human capabilities. Outside, stars continued their eternal dance. But something fundamental had changed. A forgotten human legacy was awakening, and nothing would ever be the same again. The fleet was ready. Humanity's ultimate insurance policy had just been activated. The holographic records appeared suddenly, filling the research station's main chamber with flickering images of human history. Not the sanitized version found in standard archives, but raw, unfiltered documentation of humanity's most desperate moments. June watched as the first images revealed a chilling narrative. Humanity had not simply created a fleet. They had designed a complete survival strategy that went far beyond traditional military thinking. The records showed massive underground genetic repositories, entire libraries of human DNA, cultural memories, and technological blueprints stored in quantum-locked systems. These weren't just ships. They were complete civilization restoration modules. They planned for everything, Una whispered. The strategy was brilliant in its complexity. Each ship was more than a weapon. It was a mobile civilization generator, capable of reconstructing human society from essentially zero resources. Adaptive systems that could terraform planets, rebuild infrastructure, and preserve human knowledge across potentially centuries of isolation. Genetic preservation chambers revealed incredible detail, not just human DNA, but complete cultural archives, languages, music, art, scientific discoveries, everything that defined human civilization, carefully preserved and protected. Park noticed something extraordinary. The ships had built-in learning systems that could rapidly adapt to new environments. They could analyze planetary conditions, create artificial ecosystems, and prepare habitable spaces faster than any known technological system. The records showed humanity facing an undefined global threat, not a war, not an invasion, something more fundamental that had pushed them to create this ultimate backup plan, a civilization-level insurance policy designed to ensure human survival under the most extreme circumstances. Technological schematics revealed self-replication capabilities that defied current scientific understanding. These ships could manufacture entire technological ecosystems using minimal resources. They could create everything from basic tools to complex machinery using advanced molecular reconstruction techniques. They didn't just want to survive, June realized. They wanted to guarantee human potential could restart anywhere. The strategy went beyond simple survival. It was about preservation of human creativity, innovation, and spirit. Each ship carried not just physical resources, but the collective human potential to rebuild and reimagine civilization. Defensive systems were equally impressive. Adaptive weapon technologies that could restructure matter, create complex energy shields, and neutralize threats without traditional destructive approaches. These weren't just weapons. They were sophisticated problem-solving systems. The records showed multiple contingency scenarios: environmental collapse, potential cosmic threats, technological disruptions. Humanity had prepared comprehensive solutions for scenarios that most civilizations would consider impossible to survive. Communication networks embedded in the ships could potentially rebuild global communication infrastructure from scratch. Advanced quantum transmission systems that could re-establish connections across potentially vast interstellar distances. Una found herself emotional. This wasn't just a technological achievement. It was a testament to human resilience. A message that said no matter what happened, humanity would find a way to continue. The ships carried something more precious than technology. They carried hope. Each system was designed with multiple redundancies. If one method failed, another would activate. If a specific approach didn't work, the ships could quickly develop alternative strategies. Total adaptability became their primary survival mechanism. They knew they might not survive, Park said quietly, but they ensured their potential would. The final records revealed the most stunning detail. These ships weren't just a backup plan. They were a promise, a commitment that human potential would continue, regardless of any potential catastrophe. As the holographic records faded, the research team stood in stunned silence. They had discovered more than a fleet of spacecraft. They had found humanity's ultimate declaration of survival. The alien military demonstration approached with typical arrogance. 3 massive battle cruisers from the Central Galactic Coalition, designed to showcase technological superiority, moved into the star system where the human fleet remained. Commanders believed they were conducting a routine strategic exercise, scanning, displaying power, demonstrating technological might. They had no idea what was coming. The first indication something was wrong came when their advanced scanning systems suddenly went dark. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply neutralized. Complex computational networks simply stopped functioning, replaced by intricate quantum interference patterns. June and Una watched from the research station, their breath caught in their throats. The human fleet moved, not aggressively, not dramatically, but with a precise, calculated efficiency that defied everything the alien military understood about combat strategy. Defensive weapons emerged from the spacecraft. They weren't traditional missiles or energy cannons. They were adaptive systems that could restructure matter, redirect energy, and neutralize threats without traditional destruction. The alien battlecruisers tried to respond. Their most advanced weapon systems activated: plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, gravitational manipulation technologies that had conquered dozens of star systems. Nothing worked. The human fleet simply absorbed the attacks. Energy weapons disappeared into complex shielding systems. Physical projectiles were restructured mid-flight, transformed into harmless particles. It was like watching a parent effortlessly block a child's ineffective punch. Quantum communication networks within the fleet worked faster than any known technological system. They anticipated threat vectors, calculated response strategies, neutralized potential damage before it could even manifest. Park watched the holographic displays, his hands shaking. "They're not even fighting," he whispered. "They're solving a problem." The alien military commanders became increasingly desperate. Emergency protocols activated, retreat signals sent, but their communication systems had been completely compromised. The human fleet wasn't destroying their enemies. It was systematically rendering them ineffective. Technological systems shut down, weapon networks neutralized, communication channels blocked. Within minutes, the entire alien military demonstration had been completely disabled, not through violence, through pure, calculated technological superiority. A message began broadcasting, not in any known alien language, in perfect translated communication that every species could understand. Humanity survives. Humanity adapts. Humanity continues. Yuna felt chills running down her spine. This wasn't just a military demonstration. This was a statement, a promise, a declaration that human potential could not be easily erased. The research team understood something profound. These ships represented more than technological achievement. They were a message to the universe. Humanity might have seemed gone, forgotten, a minor species in the vast cosmic landscape, but they were never truly absent. The alien military withdrew, their technological superiority completely shattered. They had encountered something they could not comprehend. A strategy so advanced, so complete that traditional combat concepts became meaningless. June looked at the fleet. Massive, silent, waiting. They weren't just ships. They were humanity's ultimate insurance policy, and the universe had just been reminded of human potential. Somewhere across the vast darkness of space, something was watching. Something was waiting.